Robert Browning (1812 to 1889), the Victorian poet. The poems which we have in our syllabus are Sordello in Mantua, Porphyria's Lover, The Bishop Orders His Tomb at St. Praxis Church, Child Roll into the Dark Tower Came, Fra Lippo Lippi. Robert Browning was an English poet and playwright whose dramatic monologues made him one of the foremost Victorian poets. His poems show for irony, characterization, dark humor, social commentary, historical settings, and challenging vocabulary and syntax. His career began well but collapsed for a time. The long poems Pauline and Paracelsus were acclaimed, but in 1840 Sordello was seen as willfully obscure. His reputation took over a decade to recover, by which time he moved from Shelleyan forms to a more personal style. In 1846, Browning married the older poet Elizabeth Barrett and went to live in Italy. By the time of her death in 1861, he had published the collection Men and Women. His dramatis persona and book-length epic poem The Ring and the Book made him a leading British poet. He continued to write prolifically, but his reputation today rests largely on his middle period. On his death in 1889, he was seen as a sage and philosopher poet who had contributed to Victorian social and political discourse. Societies for study of his work formed in his lifetime. They remained common in Britain and the United States until the early 20th century. In 1845, Browning met the poet Elizabeth Barrett, 6 years his elder, who lived as a semi-valet in her father's house in Wimpole Street, London. They began regularly corresponding, and gradually a romance developed between them, leading to their marriage and journey to Italy on 12 September 1846. Their only child, Robert Wiedemann Barrett Browning, nicknamed Penini or Pen, was born in 1849. Browning died at his son's home in Venice on 12 December 1889. He was buried in Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. His grave now lies immediately adjacent to that of Alfred Tennyson.